Hello all, and welcome into round 3 of May Mystery Month. We're here in round 3, I guess. Neil, if you're listening, now you have to stick to the same car, but welcome in everyone. We're here in Mises McLaren Drip Unexpected. But welcome in. Scone says, where's Jeddah? I don't even want to watch Jeddah, never mind race Jeddah. Dear Lord, that'd been horrendous. Yes, Lime, that is a trim. That's a fresh trim. Ollie Bean says, don't spin yet. As Star says, there's ads. Everyone's waiting for the ad. I tried to start the stream after the ad, but the ad... Alright, now the ad says it's there. I don't even know. But while we wait, I will take a sip of tea. But for all of you listening, I actually still haven't really decided on what the stipulation fully is yet. If you want to put in some recommendations in the chat, and I will decide after we spin the wheel. Thank you for the follow, it's Jack, welcome into the stream. But if any of you want to throw out ideas before we go into the lobby, you're welcome. Ledgeman says, do reverse grid, put me on pole. Cod says, everyone starts in full wets. I mean, Cod, for that to happen, everyone would have to... The conditions would have to be in the wet. Because you, in-game, can't put on wet tires on a dry track. It doesn't let you. Crossgrease says wet on dry track. Dry and wet track, yeah. Spin turn 1 says Lime. Well, let me add the sound alerts. Copy. Is everyone back from the ad break yet? Let me know. Hopefully everyone should be back from the ad break by now. Everyone box lap 1 for Slicks. Star says if we get Monaco, I'm leaving. Yeah, everyone's back. Alright, we're gonna spin for the track. And we'll see what we get. Monaco is one of the options, so we will see. What is it gonna be? What is it gonna be? What is it gonna be? Oh, it's Dutchland! AKA the Netherlands, AKA Zandvoort. Crossgray says Monaco and no gifting subs. GG's. Anyway, to Dutchland we go. Michael Lou, if you're in here, pick a car, because I don't think anyone else is joining. I have given Womax an invite, but he hasn't joined. Let's see if there's anyone else to join. Anyway, any more recommendations for what you would like the race to be? And I will debate. I have an idea. And I think this, the idea will work with this track. The idea should work. Anywho. There we are. Wallmax, if you want to join, there's your invite. I don't know who else, Hopefully, Neil says Hard's banned. Interesting one. Star says Sprint Weekend Reverse GP race based on sprint result. That's not a bad one. But anyway, lads, I think you're good to ready up for qualifying. You're good to ready up for qualifying, and if a restart does need to happen, then we will do one. But I'll see if I can get one more driver in. Let me see here. Where is... But anyway, I think we're good to go. I'll see if I can invite Jack in if he does want to join. Neil says he quite enjoyed Rainbow Tires. Star says I'm streaming if you need results. Who said, wouldn't you like to know? 2 people said, wouldn't you like to know? Oh, it's because the like one says, what's the story on Ballamurray, wouldn't you like to know? Cod says 100% race at Monaco. Like one says, what's the procedure? We don't know yet. We don't know yet. Who knows? Who knows what the procedure is yet, the lanky one? All you need to know is that it is going to be qualifying in Zandvoort. For all of you listening, let me know what the let me know what the weather is in the race, and that may determine what I decided what I decided to be. Ollie Bean says full wet weather. Is that true? What is the weather, lads, in the session? Because if that is the weather in the session, then I will that will influence what we do. Because we may not have to do a lobby restart if we can avoid it, you know. Crosscrease says changeable. Can anyone be more specific? Like, is it... Hemidem says dry race. Crosscrease says dry up to 60 minutes. That means it's a dry race, alright. Star says dry with a threatened to rain, so overcast. Dry quali, dry to wet race. Interesting. And I think scones or lime will be our first out of the pit lane. Will be lime. If anyone has a picture of the weather, put it into the Discord, and I will make my decision off the back of that. Because I'm debating between 2 things of what it should be. One is more painful than the other. So, I'll have to see. But, while we wait, I'll see if I can get Jack in, if he appears. Here we are. Hopefully Jack can join. Star says wet in the race. Michael Louis left the session. Let me try and get Michael back in again. Alright. Oh, Infrajack has joined. We'll go on board with Lime for this lap to see how you can do. Oh, Lime's binned it. Neil says his wheel died on him. Oh, Neil, did you end up in the wall? I didn't even notice Neil in the wall if he did. I was too busy trying to decide or sort out with Star what the weather in the race is. Anyway, Scones has a big wobble out of the final corner as he tries to finish his first lap here in qualifying. And Neil says he tried to pause in time, but the AI drove him into the wall as Scones goes quickest with an 11.3. We do have Infrajack here in the RB. Meanwhile, Young Hemi Dimes, the next around on a lap, is in the other V-carb. Well, Neil, this will be a challenging drive for you. You just need to find a way to cut your way through your pack. As Hemi Dimes goes a second quicker than Scones. Meanwhile, we've got D. Somers out there. I think Kevin Kell coming up to the line as well here. Kevin Kell actually leading the championship here in May Mystery Month. As D. Somers goes and does a 10.5. And Neil has left to get a setup. Ban him. I'm joking. I'm pretty sure Neil has probably a setup for every track at this point in the game. As Michael Louis left again. I don't know why Michael's connection's struggling so much. He's not appearing on my friends list, which couldn't be more annoying because I know for a fact he is. Neil says he does, and for every weather, as Star goes quickest within a 9.3. And a reminder, Kevin Kell is leading the championship, but Star has been the best qualifier so far. Pole in both tracks, so Star definitely still one of the favourites here. Meanwhile, Ollie Bean out there. I wonder if anyone else on a lap ahead of him. Ginger on the mediums has damage, actually, in this Williams. So it won't be a fast time there for Ginger. Lime did improve, though. He is just less than a tenth quicker than Scones on his second lap. The Star was even quicker with a 9.5. Brilliant lap time there from Star to improve. Crossgrey, I would say, is probably the next fastest in the lobby. Behind Star, not counting Neil as well, although Neil currently not in the lobby. Hemi Dimes says forgot it was 60 in the pit lane. Did you crash? As Crossgrey goes second, as predicted by myself. I think some people in a different life call me Mystic Mac, you know. I predict these things. As for those of you who are currently competing in qualifying, do not ready up whenever you go into the race, dear Lord, because it will have an impact on the race itself. We need to have a look at the weather before I fully decide on what we're doing. And if someone readies up early, we'll have to do a restart, which will just suck, to be honest. So For those of you listening, really make sure that you do not ready up early. It will only cause us pain, as Kevin Kell actually improves. Goes ahead of Crosscrete. So, decent improvement there from the Alpine. The lanky one out there in for a Jack on his debut here as well. And the lanky one round the final corner, where can he go? As up to P6 for the lanky one last time out, finished in 5th in Baku. As Jack goes to P8 in the V-Carb. Anyone else out there on a lap? I wonder if Star doing some more laps. He's invalid. Crosscrete, I think, is doing some more laps, but just doing some practice laps, it seems. Might not be the only driver out there doing some practice laps, because they're well aware that they are haven't got the practice in necessary before this one, as it was a mystery race and they didn't know what they were getting into before this. Meanwhile, Ledgeman out of Sector 1 did look like he's improving, but now it says he's not. Anyway, Ollie Bean out there on a lap in the Haas, yet to set a time, along with Ty Clear also out on a lap, yet to set a time on the board. But Ollie Bean out there in the Haas, can he improve to get past his teammate who's retired from the session, as Legispin has spun again, and Ollie Bean does get past his teammate, as his teammate also... Oh, and Michael Louis blocked by Ginger out on a lap here. Interesting. Pretty sure Michael Louis not too happy about that one. As Ty Clear dives it on the inside of Lime on his run around. Meanwhile, we've Codzilla up on 4th. Codzilla won the opener of May Mystery Month and missed round 2, so can Codzilla potentially regain the form that he had in round 1 as we head through here in round 3? As the Ledgeman in the chat says, a reverse grid would be really good right now. And, well, I'm sure Ledgeman would pray for a reverse grid, but will it come is the question. Is Codzilla now actually into the pit lane? Doesn't believe he's improving. Star out there, I think, is still on that same set of softs. He has 6 laps on those softs. A long stint is Star doing to practice here. Meanwhile, Hemi Dimes 2/10 the good on his previous lap time. I don't think that indicates on his time through Sector 1, as it says he is down on his time. Meanwhile, Ty Clear seems to have had a mistake. Bit of grass on the tyres as Lime now trying to improve on his run around. Currently has a 10.9. Can Lime... As Ledgeman says, lost to the rear at turn 3, and unfortunate for Ledgeman, he'll start at best P13 here, as Michael Louis has been unable to get a lap, dealing with his connection and some traffic in this session. But Lime now, as he rounds the final corner, where can he go up in the Ferrari? As Lime is going to cross the line now and moves up to P9, improving by 0.3. Ollie Bean out there on a run. I wonder, is he just finished a lap or is he starting one, as Kirschmania has joined? Interesting. Hemi Dimes says, got held up in my first run by the Williams. That could be an unfortunate another penalty for Ginger, as he seems to be holding a lot of people up here. But this time he gets out of the way. Anyway, Ollie Bean now in the Haas. Can he improve? As Michael Louis still unable to set a lap time. But hopefully will now get a run, although I do think he has some corners way of Jack. Jack peels into the pit lane, so Michael Louis should have a clear track in order to do this lap, as Ollie Bean does come into the pit lane. And Lime, I think, also entering the pit lane. Scone starting a lap now. Lime coming in, so Michael Louis P2 in Tier 2 last season. Where can Michael put his Aston Martin here in qualifying? As let me just put that up on my PC so I don't have to bring it up on my phone. And I realize I probably should have the stream up on my phone on TikTok as well. But Bobby in the chat says, let us join. Bobby, who are you? Unfortunately, I don't know who you are. If you do want to join, the link to the Discord is in the bio. As Bex in the stream says, go Star. We've got a Star #1 fan here. And Bex hoping Star can convert on potentially his third pole of the season, as Crossgrey is just 0.2 back from Star as it stands, as Michael Louis jumps up to P5, 0.003 back from young Hemi Dimes. And can Star convert on a third pole in May Mystery Month? But unfortunately for Star, this season has yet to get it on the podium. Had a really unfortunate run of it so far, but with 3 minutes left in the session, we're going to start to see we'll need to see all the drivers coming out of the pit lane now with 3 minutes remaining. But a lot of drivers now complaining about traffic in this session so far. Not too happy, but anyway. Hopefully we can have a clear run, and the thing I'm most worried about is just someone readying up early at the start of the race, because that'll just make life absolute pain. I'm gonna get my phone ready to make sure that no one is like timed to ready up early, because that'll just be an unnecessary headache that I don't need to deal with. As Scone's now gonna go for another lap, and anyone else actually on a lap that's close to finishing, the lanky one potentially, although doesn't look like he's improving on his delta. The lanky one next around, as he is 0.3 down, does not improve. We've got Kevin Kell up by around 1/10, as young Hemi Dimes has improved to get 5 thousandths ahead of Kevin Kell, but this could be what Kevin Kell needs to get ahead, and Kevin Kell moves up to P2. Brilliant lap time there, brilliant final sector from the Alpine, a purple final sector from the Alpine at that. We'll see who else out there on a lap. We've got Ginger improving along with Ollie Bean. Can Ollie Bean gain any positions here in the Haas as he's going to come in? That's Ollie Bean's qualifying done for today. Jack around next in the V-Carb. Where can Jack go as he crosses the line? Improves by a tenth, moves himself just ahead of Ollie Bean. As F1 Lime starting a lap there. Scones, I think, just about improved on his lap. Moves up to P7. Star starting an out lap. We've got Ty Clear coming up to the line. Jumps up to P7 as he improves by 4/10. The lanky one into the box. Godzilla out on a lap here is Ginger up to P7. Big improvement there for Ginger. As we've got 15 seconds left in the session and a lot of people here on their final run. We've got Kevin Kell here not improving. Who else is out there on a run? I'm trying to find the car. It is Godzilla. 4/10 of the lead. Where can Godzilla go? As he crosses the line, doesn't improve. Well, it does improve, but only slightly. As D Summers moves up to P4. Cross screen now, can he improve? In the Red Bull, oh, 5 thousandths just ahead of Kevin Kell for Cross screen. As Jack now next across the line. Can Jack get any improvement in the V-Carb as he's already flashing on the rear of that V-Carb? No improvement as Lime will cross the line, followed by Scones. Lime moves up to P11. Meanwhile, Star 2/10 to the good as he's coming up to the line, and Star goes even quicker. Goes over half a second in improving, and it's an 8-9 from Star in the Mercedes. And what a lap time there from Star. Another pole position for Star as Young Himmy Dimes does not improve. D Summers 2 thousandths ahead of Young Himmy Dimes. But there it is. There's your qualifying. I'm going to take a quick picture of the grid in case it's needed. But dear Lord, please do not ready up early. But Star with his third pole in May Mystery Month, his third consecutive pole. Meanwhile, Neil Gio, who won last time out, has to start from the back due to some wheel issues. And hopefully Neil can get his wheel working again. But Star currently leading the field over 6/10 ahead of Cross screen Kevin Kell. And hopefully everyone knows to not ready up early. I have pinged, and if anyone readies up early, I'm gonna take. Oh, I'm gonna be very angry. But we need to work out what the weather's doing, so we know what strategy to do. Because I will announce what the stipulation is after we work out what the weather is saying. And hopefully no one readies up because we need to work out. Neil says dry, wet, dry. If that is what it is, well, Star says he's loading the picture, so if it is that, then I need to, oh my god, it is dry, wet, dry. Okay, lads, I know what the stipulation is. Everyone has to box on lap 1 for wet tires. And then when it starts raining, everyone has to box for dry tires. And then when it goes back... Actually, never mind. We'll not do that. We'll not do that. Because people will take the piss and will stay out on the wrong tire. I honestly didn't think of... The race itself just may be entertaining enough because that was one of the stipulations, but it's going to be awkward to enforce that because people will just stay out longer on which tire. So my other idea was a mandatory 2-stop, which probably will be anyway. You know what? Neil said in the chat, because we'll just do rainbow tires again. everyone has to do rainbow tires. This one makes more sense because there will be a wet point in the race. I was going to do a mandatory 2-stop, but now with the rain, you would be doing a 2-stop anyway. So, we will be doing rainbow tires again. Ginger says mandatory 1-stop. You wouldn't be physically able to do that because the inters would explode. A 1-stop would be impossible. Anyway, I think we're all ready to go. We're gonna do rainbow tires again because of the circumstances. I think that's the best thing you could do. Welcome in, Lou. My chat intro still calls this place SSR. What does that mean, Lou? But anyway, lads, you have my permission to ready up now. Lou, I don't even know what the chat intro is anyway. This actually makes more sense for the rainbow tires because it's gonna be wet, so there's a reason for you to use the wets. Also, Brian, you can't enforce no DRS. Anyway, we will have the 5 red lights on here in Zandvoort as we're away, and Star leads us off the line ahead of Crossgrey. Crossgrey on the inside. Star has had a nightmare getaway on the hard tyres as D Summers right up the inside immediately as D Summers uses too much of that inside curb, and Star gets back ahead straight away as a lot of people on the sauce in the midfield now. And Lime dives on the inside of Scones. Little bit of contact, but brilliant move there from Lime as Jack trying to find a way through on Scones now. But brilliant move there from Lime, getting ahead of Scones. Next on the agenda, Lime sees Michael Louis. And Michael going to keep it ahead. Scones right on the rear of Michael Louis now as Neil, for whatever reason, is dropping off the back of the field. That maybe having still some issues with his... Oh, and someone's around. Infra Jack may have had some contact falling back. He was next to the Ferraris. Now Jack down in P14. Meanwhile, Crossgrey already has a strong lead here as he's the first to box, gone for the undercut as Star was very wide, allowing D Summers through. As Kevin Kell now on the mediums on the rear of Star. Kevin Kell, the championship leader here in May Mystery Month. As Codzilla already under the wets. Huh? Interesting. Neil onto the softs immediately. Maybe wanted some clean air. Or maybe he's just having still some more issues with his wheel. I think he did have his front wing fixed there. So Neil really struggling here. As Michael Louis outside DRS range from Kevin. As F1 Lime on the rear of Michael Louis. And Michael Louis may struggle to keep Lime behind if he doesn't have DRS off the cars ahead. And Scones now on the outside of young Himmy Dimes. Himmy Dimes on the hards. Side by side, Scones goes. And may open the door to Ty Clear. Now Scones on the outside of young Himmy Dimes. Ty Clear all over the rear of young Himmy Dimes as they head through. Young Himmy Dimes into the pit lane. Already, Michael Louis sets the fastest lap as Ty Clear unable to get through on Scones. Meanwhile, the lanky one also joining this battle. Kevin Kell over the rear of D Summers now But I think Godzilla using the wet tires in the dry was an insane call, because whenever the wet does actually come out, then maybe you would have had a better use of the wets. But F1 Lime now trying to hold on to the DRS of Michael Lewis. Michael Lewis joined this lead train. And Ty on the rear of Scones. Can Ty find a way through on the Ferrari? As D. Somers takes the lead, Ty now dives it on the inside of Scones. And Scones unable to find a way back through again, as the lanky one gets through on Scones as well. What a big mistake there from Scones, has to catch it. As D. Somers now in the lead for Mercedes, and Ollie Bean has crashed on the pit exit. That is... What? Already retiring the pit lane? I don't even know. Who knows? Godzilla's staying out on the wets. What? Ollie Bean retired in the pit lane, I guess. That's weird. Anyway. Some things are confusing. I don't know why Godzilla's still out in the wets. That makes no sense at all. For the driver who won the season opener here in May Mystery Month. I think he's lost his marbles. But as we head down the main straight, now Star may get back through on D. Somers, who had taken the lead momentarily, but now Star around the outside of D. Somers now. And is the rain starting already? Owen Lime on the inside of Ty Clear. Ty Clear finding a way through on Lime. Can Lime find a way back through on Ty? As Ty looking to catch that lead train. But out of everyone looking to box, Crossgray's already gotten one done, along with young Himmy Dimes Neil and Godzilla. Meanwhile, Star staying out. I believe a couple drivers here waiting for a safety car, because we did see in Baku the safety car was we did see the safety car played a big impact in Baku, but will another safety car come out is the question. Meanwhile, back in the battle for the lead, D. Somers now on Star, as someone's had a mistake. It seems to be Godzilla, who's still out on the wet tires. Can someone tell me what Godzilla's doing? Because I do not know. I do not know at all. As LTJ Ellis into the box now. And this has been an exciting opener. Meanwhile, Neil seems to have recovered from his wheel mishaps, and now he's been able to use some of the pace on the softs now. Hopefully he's got an opportunity now to come back in this race following his wheel really causing him difficulty. But Ellis onto the inters now. And Star on the rear of D. Somers. As we may have another switch for the lead, but Star actually dives into the pit lane as the rain is already coming out. What is Star going for? He's going for the wets. I think that's a very smart call, because Star can do one lap on the wets and then the next lap goes straight onto the inters, and it could still play into his hands as the lanky one goes for the same call. LTJ Ellis is already out in the inters. If I were him, I'd probably just stay on the inters. for a bit as he touches the grass and almost loses the rear there. But a couple drivers out on the wets as they see Inters on the horizon next. Meanwhile, Lime out there on the rear of Ty Clear. What can we see the drivers do in these conditions? We see Lime going wide now in the wet conditions as Kevin Cal, the championship leader here in May Mystery Month, has been able to deal with all the conditions. And Lou says, yeah, Codzilla, wets time, Codzilla's catching him now, he pits. Realistically, he should have just not really went on the wets that long, to be honest. But D. Sommers now into the pit lane. Kevin Cal is going to stay out even longer as D. Sommers gets a 10-second time penalty spinning into the pit lane. Love Death and D. Sommers getting a 10-second spinning in the pit lane penalty as Scones is going to be held up by Lime. Not great communication. As well as Crossgrey, those two just love a spinning in the pit lane penalty. They do not know where their brakes are, it seems, entering the pit lane. But Scones, not great communication with his Ferrari teammate, as the lanky one gets a 10-second spinning in the pit lane penalty. Neil also coming in. What tyres does Neil pick? I think it's the wets for Neil. And Kevin Cal staying out there on the dries, everyone else on the wet tyres. D. Sommers is going to need to serve that 10-second spinning in the pit lane penalty along with Crossgrey and the lanky one. As D. Sommers loses the car massively on these wet tyres and takes out some of the brake marker boards as well, as D. Sommers really struggling in these conditions. The wets must be overheating massively as DRS now disabled, and that's normally the sign that it is time for Inters. And Lime currently a net P1 on the Inters. As Kevin Cal comes in now, Lime on the rear of Ty Clear. And that rhymed beautifully. And this is Rhymes with Lime. Can he make a sublime overtake on Ty Clear as he gazes at the rear of that Sauber? And Lime now will take potentially P1. But Kevin Cal exits in the lead still. And Lime in P2, 5 seconds back from the Tier 2 champion. As Lou in the chat says he's a poet and doesn't even know it. And you couldn't be more right. And yes, I could write. But currently there's a blight. Anyway, lanky one on the rear of Ty Clear as Ty Clear goes deep and opens the door to the lanky one as Neil back into the box potentially for Inters now along with Crossgrey. Crossgrey just exits just ahead of the Alpine driver because Crossgrey did have to serve that 10-second time penalty. But Ty surprisingly letting the lanky one through. I think he knows the lanky one has that 10-second time penalty, so he may only lose time holding him up at this stage. But these interconditions have certainly played a factor into the race. I wonder what Michael Louis and Jack will do, though. Do they decide to come in for Inters? No, Michael Louis going to stay out on these wets still. Probably keeping an eye on how Scones is catching him. And the delta between him and Lime as well. As Jack also staying out on these wet tyres. And we'll keep an eye on how much time Star can make on Jack. Although it may not be as representative as some of the other drivers, as Star is one of the quickest drivers here in all of WHF, as Jack is a rookie. This is Jack's first race in WHF. So I wonder, will that be the determined factor? We'll have to see, as Star, being patient, can see the driver on the wets, struggling ahead, but can Star find an opening on the rear of the V-Carb? Can he find the grip on the inside now? No, he's going to be patient. All over the rear of the V-Carb. The V-Carb trying to get it turned in, but through the middle sector Star goes on the inside. Can Jack hold it round the outside of Star? trying to find the traction on the Inters, and I think these current conditions work better for Inters. As you've seen just there, Star able to plant the grip down as Michael Louis seems to be losing a bit more time to Lime. As Brian Kippy in the chat says, oh my god, a Lime podium finally. And we could potentially see it, although depending on the pit stops, we'll have to see is Jack coming into the pit lane. Possibly for Inters now, I would say. Michael Louis continuing to lose some time. I think he should probably go Inters. Let's have a look at what everyone's done so far. Currently, only Crosscree needs to do the hards. That's all Crosscree is left. And Young Hemi Dimes and Neil only have to do the mediums now. So gotta keep an eye on those three. Hemi Dimes, Neil, and Crosscree have one more mandatory pit stop left. And whenever the track goes dry again, that could be them until the end. Meanwhile, D Summers now on the rear of Ledgeman, aka LTJ Ellis. And can D Summers find a way through? On LTJ Ellis. As Ellis struggling for traction, can D Summers find an exit to get ahead of the Haas? But Ledgeman defending well. Currently, as D Summers still trying to find an opening as Michael Louis finally comes in. As Ledgeman now trying to defend. Round the final corner. Takes the inside line. But that may sabotage his run down the main straight. And D Summers now may get round the outside of Ledgeman as Ledgeman goes defensive to the inside. And D Summers tries to break later around the outside of turn 1. Side by side, the Mercedes and the Haas go. And lovely battling, and D Summers gets through round the outside of the Haas. Just found superior grip on the outside. Brilliant move there from D Summers on the 3-lap fresher Inters. Meanwhile, Michael Louis going to try and use his fresh Inters now. The freshest Inters of the entire pack. As Star gets through on Scones. Star, we'll have a look at his pit stops. I think Star has still 2 to go. He's going to do medium soft or soft medium from here. So Star still has a couple pit stops to do. But Scones losing out to Star, but the Ferrari's doing pretty well here as Neil getting ahead of Ginger. As Ginger trying to find a way back through on the Alpine. And a reminder, Neil, Young Hemi Dimes and Crosscree have all but one mandatory pit stop left to do. And the track will go back to dry after this quick shower. As Jack now on the rear of LTJ Ellis. Owen almost pushing him through the final corner. And Ellis looks like he's coming in, surprisingly enough. As Neil on the rear of Jack, if he can find a way through. But I don't know what Ellis is coming in for. Maybe for the wet tyres. It is the wet tyres for the Haas. He probably hasn't used them just yet. As Neil looks to find a switchback on Jack now. And out of the bank turn. As Jack even goes onto the grass. That's certainly not going to help him defending from Neil Gio. As Neil into P9 now. And looking mighty fine out there. As Rio Harris says, I didn't know this was happening. I thought it was only F2. Well, Rio, it is not my fault. You never learn how to read. But Young Hemi Dimes now on the rear of Ginger in the Williams. And Ginger makes a little mistake. And Young Hemi Dimes on the rear is Kevin Kell now into the box, potentially for wets, and it is wets for Rio. There couldn't have been more notifications. I don't know how many more notifications there could have been. There would have been so many, Rio. As Scones onto the wet tyres. Ty trying to defend from Michael Louis, who's soon going to be catching as Young Hemi Dimes still unable to find a way past Ginger, who's defending in the Williams. But can Young Hemi Dimes get any enough. Oh, is Ginger lagging a bit as Young Hemi Dime's almost into the rear of that lagging Williams. As Neil now on the rear of D. Summers. Because Rio, it is May Mystery Month, and everyone has to use every single tyre compound. And Neil on the rear. Oh, he almost pushes the Mercedes through this middle sector. And Neil going to look for the switchback now. No, he goes round the outside, tries to skate it round the outside of the Mercedes of D. Summers, and Neil gets into P7. And Neil looking mighty fine there. A reminder, Neil only has one more mandatory pit stop left to do. And into P7 Neil goes. Meanwhile, Star has to do 2 more. A reminder, Star does have a decent advantage over Neil. It is about a pit stop. But Star does have to do 2 pit stops. Neil has to do 1. So that should really even it out. As Scones under pressure now from Jack on the inters. As Jack into the rear of Scones now. Side by side they go. Scones may get back through on Jack. Side by side they go. Still side by side. A bit of wheel banging between Scones and Jack. Oh, and Jack with a lovely switchback. Oh my lord. Scones is going to need a new pair of socks after that one. What a switchback from Jack. Absolutely excellent driving there. Wow, what a move. Meanwhile, Crossgrey and Young Hemi Dimes again only have 1 more mandatory pit stop to do, and Lou says F1 equivalent of getting nutmegged. As Sci-Fi Mega Hype says lovely move from Jack, and what a move it was. As Crossgrey still trying to find a way past the Williams now. Star into the pit lane now. He's the first to box onto the dry tyres. Can Star make it work here? We will see. As Kevin Kell also in for dries as Ledger spin. Back spinning again as Neil on the rear of Lime. Almost comes together with Lime. With Lime coming into the pit lane now. And Neil now into P3. But where does Star exit? Star is P2 up the road, and you see the Alpine in the background. This is the battle for P1. Star has another pit stop to do, and so does Neil. Star needs to use... What tyres is Star on? Star has medium soft to do, so Star has to use these mediums and then go on to the softs. Meanwhile, Neil on these inters. As the track still seems to be wet, Star really struggling here. But Neil could have a net P1 now if he dives it on the inside of the Mercedes, and he does just that. Neil dives it on the Mercedes, and Neil now into a net P1 on these inters as Star unable to get these medium tyres fired up. And a reminder, Star and Neil currently have the same amount of pit stops. They've all 1 more to do, but Neil now takes a net P1. As Kevin Kell now on the rear of Crossgrey. And it seems the dry tyres just haven't been able to fire up currently. And it seems the Inter's still outperforming the dries at this stage. As Star weaving to try and get any grip in the mediums as Jack into the pit lane, but gets a 10-second time penalty. But Neil already pulled 5 seconds to Star. It just doesn't seem like the track is dry enough yet. It still seems like the Inters are outperforming the dry tyres at this stage. As the lanky one, another 10-second time penalty. Someone needs to tell that man to brake entering the pit lane. As Ollie Bean says, Ledgeman's wing damage and there's an M plate missing. So Ledgeman, Ripperoni, Pepperoni as he's ghosted with Neil lapping Ledgeman. And you're right, Lou, it seems people have went to the dries too early because Star has lost 7 seconds to Neil now, as now the DRS is enabled, but Star losing 7 seconds to Neil as Neil only has 1 more pit stop to do. Meanwhile, so does Star I think Neil has to do the hards. We'll have a quick look. Yeah, Neil has to do... Oh, Neil has to do the mediums to the end. Meanwhile, Star has to do medium soft from here. But he just seems to have no grip on those medium tires. As Crossgrey comes in now, off the inters, and we'll see what impact that'll have as D. Somers now on the rear of Lime. Scones on the rear of Ginger as well. Can Scones, with the help of DRS now that's enabled, get past the Williams now? And around the outside, Scones is going to go now into P9 as, oh my lord, what have I just seen? What have I just seen? Ginger just lagged up the inside there. That would have been terrifying. How many pit stops left for Kevin Kell? Let's have a quick look at Kevin Kell. Just has to do hards to the end now. Sci-Fi Mega Hype, so our championship leader just has to do hards to the end. Meanwhile, Star and Neil also have one more mandatory pit stop. Neil trying to extend his inter stint for as long as they can go, because Neil will have to do mediums to the end unless another safety car can bail him out. But Jack on the rear of Crossgrey. A reminder, I think Jack and the lanky one have 10-second time penalties. They do. Jack has another one to serve along with the lanky one. Meanwhile, Ginger on the rear now of Scones. And can Scones defend as Jack also trying to find a way through in Crossgrey, but Scones now trying to defend from Ginger now, looking on the inside of the Ferrari, and Scones just, has a little mistake. I think he was looking for a switchback or something. As Ginger picks up a 3-second time penalty. Oh, and he's clunked the wall. Whoa, what is going on with Ginge? That is interesting. As Brian Kippy says, Neil is waiting for Lime to find the barrier. And I think Neil's just trying to use as much of the inters as he can. He's lost a second to Star in the previous lap, but Neil now on the mediums to the end. Meanwhile, Star has to do a medium soft from here, so Star has got to use the clear air he has now to put some lap times on the board before he goes to the softs to try and catch Neil. But does Star have the pace? We'll have to see to catch Neil as the yellow flag's out now. Ty Clear, who was P4 in the wall as the VSC has come out, and Ty Clear in the wall at the final corner. How has he even crashed there? Now, anyone who's not got their final pit stop done like Scones should come in now. As Scones has sped into the pit lane. He forgot to turn his pit limiter on.
I am stupid. I am stupid.
A lot of drivers now into the pit lane for their final stop, as Ginge has jumped Lime entering, or jumped Scones entering the pit lane. And Ty Clear, heartbreak for him in this one. As Jack has picked up another time penalty under the VSC, which is impressive to do. But Neil may have gained some time with that VSC coming out. It did come out as he was exiting the pit lane, so may have gained some time back on Star. And Star really should have probably gone onto the softs. Done 15 laps on the softs as Jack gets a drive through and Kevin Kell into the pit lane. But Star, I think, missed the boat there. He didn't go into the pit lane during the VSC. The softs could have definitely made it to the end here in Zandvoort, so Star really did miss the boat there, and Jack into the pit lane as Crossgrey gets another 10-second speeding in the pit lane penalty. Lads, this is really rookie stuff as Crossgrey retires in the pit lane. Dear Lord. What is happening, lads? Anyway. Has everyone got their mandatory pit stop, by the way? Star has still one to do. So does Michael Louis. So does Jack. So does Ellis. And that is it. Almost everyone has got their mandatory pit stop out of the way in this one. As Lou says, all the lads making the stewards work for... Or making work for the stewards, but it's more just the 10 seconds spinning the pit lane penalties are just completely avoidable. And it's really annoying to see some drivers do it over and over again, because it's like, surely you'd have learned from the first one. But they don't seem to be learning from the first one. Which is surprising enough to see, as Lime trying to hold on to the rear of D. Somers. D. Somers trying to escape Lime, but Lime does have DRS now. Jack, who has multiple spinning in the pit lane penalties, had a drive-through that he served, and has still another spinning in the pit lane penalties. So Jack has had a decent race here, but still, for whatever reason, dealing with whatever. Anyway, Lou says, yeah, seems simple enough, just brake. As Lime gets ahead of D. Somers into turn 1, wasn't expecting that. Lime seemed a good distance behind, but side by side, D. Somers and Lime go, and Lime gets ahead of D. Somers now. As Ginger on the rear of young Hemi Dimes. And Ginger, oh my lordy, is teleporting. Star and Scones onto the mediums now. I wonder, did he need to do that stop? Scones did not need to do that stop. Don't know why Scones was in the pit lane there. Didn't need to do that stop. Would have got a 10-second regardless, so that was basically a waste of time. Unless there's a safety car. I mean, I don't really see the reason in that. The safety car, you would have been able to serve the 10-second anyway, so it really makes no sense. Anyway, D. Somers now on the rear of Lime. And Ginger with another time penalty in behind Hemi Dimes. And D. Somers now with DRS should comfortably get ahead of Lime as they both look to catch Jack, who has several penalties now, as Hemi Dimes trying to defend from Ginger down the main straight as D. Somers comfortably gets ahead. Young Hemi Dimes keeps it ahead of Ginger. Hemi Dimes catching Lime and D. Somers as they both look to catch Jack now. And a reminder, Star at some point has to go onto the softs. I wonder how long he's going to leave it. I wonder, is he hoping for another safety car to help him get onto the softs? We'll have to see. And Brian Kippy says if Neil doesn't go into the gravel, he will win. Newsflash, Neil won't go into the gravel because he's just too good at the game. He'll have to intentionally go into the gravel if he does end up in the gravel. And you cannot prove it otherwise. If Neil ends up in the gravel, lads, it is intentional. He's just too good to sort of make that mistake. You know what I mean? There's certain drivers who are just of a level that would not make that mistake. Neil and Star definitely up there as drivers who would just not make that mistake of ending up in the gravel. As Brian Kippy in the chat says, Neil go into the gravel to make things more exciting. As D. Somers now on the rear of Jack. Ginger on the rear of young Hemi Dimes in the background. Lime unable to get past Jack. Jack still on the inside of D. Somers. Side by side they go. D. Somers leaves the track though. Opens the door to Lime. Lime now into P6. As Jack now goes very wide. And opens the door to a switchback from Lime. And Lime now, the other Ferrari, doing a switchback through the bank corner. Lime getting revenge for his Ferrari teammate Scones now. As Jack on the outside. Oh my lord, this is a very risky move. And Lime keeps it ahead of Jack now. As we've got a bit of a train here going. A very close train in the midfield has come together all of a sudden. As Ginger trying to find a way through on young Hemi Dimes. Hemi Dimes is caught D. Somers and Jack and Lime as they all look to try and get past each other. As Ginger looking on the rear of Hemi Dimes. And in for Jack. Trying to find a way through on Lime. Can D. Somers get a better exit as well here? As we head down the main straight. Lime trying to defend from Jack. Can Jack find a way through on the inside? He is. D. Somers and Hemi Dimes looking for a way through. Almost 3 wide into turn 1. D. Somers goes very deep. Oh no! Hemi Dimes goes for a move that was not on. Lime into the rear of D. Somers. Ginger drops back as well here. As Lime going for the switchback and D. Somers. Young Hemi Dimes poked his nose in. D. Somers now trying to get the run out of the bank corner on in for Jack. As Lime's dropped back, Lime has spun out of the bank corner. What's happened with Lime? And damage for Lime. I don't know what's happened there. As D. Somers now on the rear of Jack if he can find a way through. But Lime losing loads of time. And the lanky one now on the rear of the Ferrari. And the Ferrari's still ghosted for some reason. Now on ghosts as Codzilla's got ahead of him. But oh, into the rear. The lanky one goes on the Ferrari. Who's still dealing with that wing damage. I don't know why Lime keeps ghosting. This is really weird to see. I know he does have some damage, but it's weird to see someone ghosting that often. Anyway, the lanky one now looking on the rear of the Ferrari. As the Ferrari just going to let the lanky one through because he knows his damage is just going to lose everyone time. D. Somers now on the rear of Jack. And D. Somers on the inside of Jack. Going to try and get this move as Jack looks for the switchback, but into the rear he goes of the Mercedes as young Hemi Dimes trying to find a way through. And no available space there. And Jack all over the rear of the Mercedes. As Jack touches the grass, opens the door to Hemi Dimes. As side by side the V-Carbs go through the middle sector. Hemi Dimes backs out. And Ginger still lagging everyone as there's contact everywhere. Lime's retired. Lime's retired. Out of the bank corner. Although his car's still moving. So that's just a... Okay, that's okay, right. Lime. Interesting. As Michael Louis comes in for a pit stop. And young Hemi Dimes trying to find a way through. D. Somers with Ledgeman also being in this train. Although Ledgeman is a lap down. Sci-Fi, you can't go on board with a driver that is bended. You need to find the next closest driver to them, and there was unfortunately no one on track close enough to Lime who had retired. As Jack on the rear of young Hemi Dimes. Can Ginger find a way through on Jack as Stars finally boxed for his pit stop and has got to try and catch Neil on these fresh softs. We'll see what kind of inroads Star can make on Neil on the soft tires. But Hemi Dimes now on the rear of D. Somers. Hemi Dimes gets ahead of D. Somers into turn 1. And Codzilla's actually joined this battle now, although Codzilla very early on the... Oh, my lord, what are we seeing? Don't even know, lads. Don't even know. Oh, and now he's back through again. Now I really don't know. Ginge seems to be very desynced from everyone else. And now he's let through Codzilla again, and he's now inside Codzilla again. Who knows what's happening? As Hemi Dimes has lost the car and is around in the middle sector here. And Hemi Dimes lost some positions now. As Codzilla looking to catch Jack. As Jack trying to keep DRS from D. Somers, who's still trying to pull a gap from Jack, who does have a lot of penalties here. As Codzilla now in DRS range from D. Somers. Meanwhile, Stars caught 1.5 to Neil. And Star's almost made up 2 seconds on Neil Gio on those fresh softs. And 2 seconds per lap would be enough for Star to catch, but he would need to keep catching 2 seconds per lap. But he's currently making good inroads on Neil on that strategy. As Bax is cheering on Star, and we're hoping to see it. Star sets the fastest lap of the race. Can he catch Neil? This would be one of Star's best drives if he could. For sure. If Star wins it from here, I would be so impressed. Because the softs definitely can do the distance that they're doing. But they will hit a cliff at some point. And Star kind of needs to be in DRS range when that cliff happens. Otherwise, he'll just not have the pace to stay with Neil. But he caught 2.5 seconds there to Neil in a lap there. So I wonder, will Neil try and put the hammer down and try and catch, or try and extend his margin? And we'll see. As Hemi Dimes now on the rear of Ginger. And Hemi going to get straight through on the Williams now. As Codzilla. Oh, as there's a yellow flag out for Scones. Scones seems to have met the gravel momentarily. But the unsung heroes of this race are Kevin Kell and Michael Louis, who are comfortably in P3 and P4. As Codzilla now trying to find a way through on Jack. It's through the middle sector. Codzilla all over the rear of Jack now. But the Williams unable to find a way through. As Ellis has left the session, I'll see if I can get Ellis back in again. Hopefully he shows up on my friends list. A lot of the time people don't. And there you are. Why would he... Why would... Oh, as Jack goes wide, it opens the door to Codzilla getting straight through now. Into P6, and Codzilla with DRS now. Can start to pressurize D. Somers as well here. As Lou in the chat says, great recovery from Codzilla after being 3/4 of a lap down on the wets. And it is a great recovery drive. The question more is, why did he put himself through so much pain on the wets in the first place? I do not know. But as we're on lap 32, Star has gained around a second on Neil, but does he have the pace? We'll have to see. We'll have to see, can Star catch Neil, as Ellis has joined back in, thank the Lord. And Ginger got a pass ahead of young Hemi Dimes. As Hemi Dimes has left the session. Try and see if we can get Hemi Dimes back in again. Hopefully he'll show up on my friends list. Here, thank God. Thank the Lord. Because, as I mentioned, not everyone does show up for whatever reason. Hopefully Hemi Dimes can get back in a position. As Codzilla now going to look on the inside of D. Somers. But backs out of the move. Codzilla not wanting to go for the position just yet. Meanwhile, Star still 9 seconds back from Neil, and he doesn't seem like he's making much inroads in this lap now. So he did have good pace at the start of the stint, but now, as Jack and Ginger battle for position again, and Codzilla on the rear of D. Somers. Can Cod finally find a way through on D. Somers, who has been defending like a lion, and as time progresses, D. Somers' hards will outperform Codzilla's softs as Ginger gets ahead on Jack. But Codzilla's got to make the move sooner rather than later, otherwise his softs by the end of this one will start to struggle. And Codzilla now, with the Alpha DRS, going to get straight ahead of D. Somers now into turn 1 here on lap 33. As Jack now on the inside of Ginger, side by side they go. Oh, and into the wall goes Jack. Jack lost the rear on the exit of the corner. And damage for Jack now. As along with Ginger. Ginger also has damage as Hemi Dimes unable to get back in again. I'll give him one more invite to see can he rejoin. Hemi Dimes, restart your game if you can. I'll send you another invite. Meanwhile, D Summers still on the rear of Codzilla. As Hemi Dimes has finally joined, thank the Lord. But can D Summers get back ahead as Jack has dropped Ginger now? In the middle sector, maybe a mistake from Ginger, but both have damage. And Jack cutting the corner as well, not certainly going to help his race as hopefully Hemi Dimes can get control of his car again and make sure he stays within the penalty threshold of the 3 drivers ahead to try and get up to P7. Meanwhile, D Summers on the rear of Codzilla. On the penultimate lap now. And it seems like Neil Geo has all but won this one. It would take a miracle from the gods for Neil to not win this one. As Lou in the chat says, GG's Neil, and it seems like it is going to be GG's. With Neil Geo winning for the second time in a row here in May Mystery Month. And a reminder that Neil started from the back, was having wheel issues, and still came through and may win here in May Mystery Month. Just showing the absolute insane pace from Neil. And Star, unfortunately for Star, he had an opportunity to box under the VSC and didn't take it. And maybe he should have in hindsight. Because now he's 10 seconds back as the yellow flag brought out for Legispin spinning again. It's in the name for a reason as D Summers on the rear of Codzilla. Unable to get back through again, but how long can Codzilla defend for on those soft tires? We will have to see. And Codzilla going a little wide may open the door to D Summers now. As Star even losing more time to Neil now. I wonder is Neil trying to get the fastest lap or is Star just picking up some marbles on his Mercedes car? We'll have to see. As D Summers now round the final corner as that is. Where's Neil? O'Neill's almost lapping Codzilla and D Summers. This is ridiculous, dear lord. As Codzilla and D Summers now start the final lap. D Summers gets ahead of Codzilla, but Neil is already at the line. My lord, I did not realize how big the gap was. Neil has won. Oh, as Ginger and the lanky one cross the line, the lanky one gets P7. Where's Hemi Dimes going to go, though, because of the result of the penalties? Hemi Dimes up to P9 as Codzilla in the grass. Oh my lord! What have I just seen? Codzilla in the grass dives back onto the circuit and D Summers somehow avoids him. My lord! But Neil, with such a big gap, I didn't even realize he was crossing the line there. And Neil wins in Zandvoort, but we're too busy looking at the battle between D Summers and Codzilla. As Codzilla losing the rear, doesn't realize his ERS is still stuck on. But Star gets P2 ahead of Kevin Kell, ahead of Michael Louis. But the battle for the P5 now is D Summers between Codzilla. We'll see, does Codzilla get his pen removed or not? But either way, it looks like it's going to be D Summers who will finish P5 in the Mercedes. And Lou in the chat says to the lanky one, have you tried braking? And it seems the lanky one has not tried braking. But there you have it. Neil wins in... Neil wins in Zandvoort. Ahead of Star, ahead of Kevin. And Star gets the fastest lap after starting from pole. And Michael Louis, in his debut race of the May Mystery Month season, finishes P4 ahead of D Summers and Godzilla, as we'll double check. Uh-oh, Jack has been disqualified. Well, Ripperoni Jack. I wanted to see, has everyone done their mandatory pit stops, and Jack did not. So, unfortunate for Jack that Jack will be disqualified. Ripperoni Pepperoni. Argue the wall. As we will head into driver interviews now, but Neil wins. And we'll join Race Party 1 for everyone here. As Bax in the TikTok chat cheering on Star into P2, and Star unable to get that final stint to work from there. And Jack says, I was so focused on racing, but it's been an amazing experience. Well, Jack, I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. But Jack, the only driver who forgot to do his final mandatory pit stop. But anyway, we will move on to the interviews. And first off, we'll start with the winner, Neil. Neil, you win yet again here in May Mystery Month. And how were you able to do it?
Can you hear me
properly?
Is there an issue with my mic? Can you hear me, Arrow?
It's buzzing a little in the background, but we can still hear your voice.
It's buzzing a bit, but okay. Right, well... Quali. Yeah. I mean, GG's. Just, the wheel just went at Skyblock, and start from back. I had to make sure, obviously, it worked. And just, I had to come back for the race. Into turn 1, things went a bit interesting. My wheel disconnected at turn 1. Not ideal. Got red wing. Not ideal at all. Had to pit. Started on the hards, so went to the softs. Went to the rain. And as the rain fell...
Hello there.
Got hard enough, I went on the full wets. That's important. I had to start on the full wets, not on the inters. So I went to the full wets. Went on the inters. Did an amazing wet stint. And then I see... The track looks dry, but... It wasn't dry. And then everyone else who pitted onto the dries completely fell with the tyres not warming up at all, and everyone just sliding. So I gained a lot of time from that, and I think that's actually the reason I've won over Star. Interestingly, so yeah, and then the race was just good. I had a good race pace. I was lucky my wheel didn't disconnect after lap 1, and yeah, took the W.
Yeah, we did see early on that you were having some issues in the race, and then obviously we did see you overtake Star, who did box when it looked dry, but for those of you that have played this game, you know there is an unfortunate visual glitch with wet weather, where even though it looks dry, it's still wet for some reason, which I think ultimately cost Star a lot in the race. But a great race from Neil. You win again, and I would like to see what this does to the championship, because Kevin Cal did finish P3 in the race there, and he was the championship leader. And with Star and Neil scoring big there, I'd like to see what that does to the championship as we head into the finale. But I think we'll move on now to Star, who did finish P2. And Star, how'd that race go for you?
Bad. I mean, that was always at the back of my mind, even when he started last. Just someone you can't ignore. By the sounds of things, we did the exact same thing. We pitted to wets when raining, loses bit down. Not a repeat of last week where it's floating to death every corner, but yeah, I don't like rainbow races. Boring.
I think the main issue did come into was the visual glitch that where when you did box on the mediums, you just had absolutely no grip because it was still technically wet, even though it looked dry. Had you experienced that before, or was that your first time actually in that scenario?
I don't know really, because it took like 2 laps for them to warm up. So I thought, I'd have a lap of pain, but it turned into like 3 or 4 laps of pain. So I don't know if it was a visual glitch, because it didn't seem like it was just me that pitted, but it only seemed like it was me that was losing time. So
Oh no! For everyone, the track looks dry, but you have to keep an eye on your tire temps because that's the only actual indicator of how wet the track is, or whether it's dry enough to actually go on to dry tires. Because if your inters start overheating, that's when you go in for dries. But whenever you did box, then you had absolutely no grip, and within a lap, I think you lost like 4 seconds to Neil because it was still technically inters, even though for everyone else it looks dry.
yeah, I lost 9 seconds in a lap, so you could argue that was
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
lost the win right there. But yeah, I didn't pit under the VSC because the softs weren't going like 15 laps, and the mediums could have. So I sucked it up with the mediums. I don't think the softs would have been any better given of this visual glitch you speak of. But yeah, I don't think I've driven that hard for flipping ages. So yeah, it's a shame that I've lost the win, but I got everything bang on. Pit stops, apart from the mediums, were bang on. The fuel was bang on. I literally ran out across the line. No half spins, no nothing. It's probably as perfect as it could have gotten, but P2 is a bit frustrating, to be honest.
Yeah, I think if you just had a left your interest into bit, like if you went a bit longer, I think you probably could have got it. But unfortunate. Hopefully on the next game that's no longer a thing. So the next game you should absolutely not have to deal with that absolute BS. But anyway,
I'll find something else to ruin. It's fine.
yeah, knowing EA and Cody's, probably there'll be something diabolical on the next one. But anyway,
Something to screw over a Mercedes. Don't worry.
But you did get a third pole of the Main Mysteries month season. How does it feel to get pole consistently as well?
I mean, it's nice, but when you do nothing with it, it's quite frustrating. Like, I feel like it would have been fun qualifying in the Cyber at Portugal. It would have been interesting to see how far up I could have gotten, but yeah, I mean, it just sucks, to be honest. Like, if I didn't have that incident with Niall last week, I would have finished second again. So, I'm clearly missing something, but
Well,
this guy races a much higher level than everybody else. So it's good and bad, I suppose.
well, what I would say is what you can take home with you is that even though Neil does race at a higher level, I think you genuinely did have a chance to win there. It was just, unfortunately...
That's what's frustrating. I feel like if we didn't die in quali, it would have been even more boring than it already was for me. So, yeah.
But anyway, still P2, and you still, I'm pretty sure, have a shot at the championship because I think if we look at the standings...
Well,
and
we've only had 3 races and Niall's won 2 of them.
yeah, but Niall, I think, missed round 1, so you would have that over him, I think.
It depends how high Kevin was last week then. I can't remember.
I think Kevin was...
I feel like I might have lost the championship losing that drag race with Crosscree last week.
Kevin was 5 points ahead of you going into this round, and then you were tied with the lanky one, and then Neil was behind you behind by 6 points. So,
yeah, so I've gained 3 points on Kevin, so I haven't even passed him. He finished third.
And I think you're still ahead of Neil. So into the final round, there is still a lot that could happen.
We're doing another week. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah, there's the finales next week.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Do you think this was the finale?
I hoped it was, to be honest. I don't think I'll peak like that over 36 laps ever again.
Well, maybe next time it may be less laps. We'll have to see, because I think 36 laps is one of the longest in the calendar.
It's fine. We'll do Monaco next week and do another 36.
Well, I think for everyone's sake, we're praying not for Monaco, because Neil will smoke everyone by a lap.
I'm not even giving myself the satisfaction of second. I just won't bother. Genuinely.
But anyway, a good race nonetheless from you, Star, and hopefully when you head into the finale, we can see a great battle between yourself, Neil, and Kevin for the championship in May Mystery Month, and it'll be definitely exciting. But we'll move on to the next interviewer. We'll move on to D Summers, who finished P5 in that one. D Summers, how'd that race go for you?
Yeah, that was actually fun. I enjoy racing Zambot, so that helped. But yeah, I had myself, Scones, and Michael Louis in my VC. And I basically said, right, this is the strategy I'm going with. If you want to go with it, go with it. And it worked out in the end, because Michael got himself, P4 in the end. And yeah, I just had a couple of good battles and did what I could to stay on track, which I failed to do once the whole race.
Well, we also did see the ending there. We seen Godzilla go on the grass, rejoining you, somehow avoided his car. What happened there?
Yeah, so with Godzilla, I went deep into the banked corner in Sector 1. And he slipped up the inside. We were side by side. He was pulling ahead of me. He ended up going too far left onto the grass. I was lucky I let off the throttle because he literally came across my nose. And I went up and around the outside of the right hander before 8 and 9. And yeah, as Cod said in the Discord chat there, a little bit of poo came out. But yeah, it was just good hard racing. We didn't touch each other. We were just fair enough to each other, gave each other space, and I was just lucky enough to have enough grip on my hards on that final lap to get the move around the outside.
Well, and you did just that, and you did finish P5, which I think is your best finish so far this season.
Yes, because last week was P6 with my drag race with Lanky at Baku.
And that time you did lose out. Well, the previous time you did lose out, but this time you did win out when you were battling with Godzilla on the final lap. But regardless, a great performance there from D Summers. We'll move on to next, who'll be Hemi Dimes. Hemi Dimes, how'd your race go there?
I think my race went alright. I was on the right strategy. I did pick up some wing damage, so that kind of shafted the entire strategy, and then had some connection issues. Qualifying wise, I think I had very good pace, just didn't work out.
We did see you battling with a good couple of drivers there. How were those battles in the midfield as well?
They were fairly good. When I went wide, battling with D Summers, I had a bit of lag going through, so just lost out a bit there. It was always good battling through there, tightening up the pact as well. So.
Well, where'd you end up finishing? Because there was that last lag out really cost you because you were battling with a couple of people for P7, but I think you ended up finishing P9.
I finished 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That lag out at the end couldn't have been more ill-timed because it just really lost you a lot of time with the drivers who did have penalties ahead of you. And
I mean, I didn't get a single warning that race, and I was hoping to finish within those time penalties to get myself some easy positions, but yeah, just the internet.
Yeah. But we'll say in a different universe you got P7 in that race, so regardless it was a very good run, and hopefully next race you'll not have that ill fate like we've seen there. But next we'll move on to one of the drivers you're battling with, Ginger. Ginger, how'd that race go for you?
Too bad, to be honest.
And what happened in your race? Hey? We can't really hear you. You might need to speak closer to your mic.
I spent most of the time behind Dimas, watching him battle with the midfield, and then that was it really.
And well, we did see a lot of battles with your midfield. Who was it you were battling with throughout that entire race?
Mainly Dimas, I was kind of at the back with most of the time.
And where'd you end up finishing there?
8, I think, with Jack's pen.
Yeah, and that did help you get a decent result, and I think that's your best result so far with us here in WHF. So hopefully you can take that into the finale as we will head to unspecified location with unspecified scenario. As we'll move on to Ledgeman, and Ledgeman, it was another less than ideal race, we'll say. How did that race go for you, Ledgeman?
Yeah, so I actually just looked back on my YouTube and I've not raced Zandvoort in 6 months. And I think it's shown because I was simply just slow for a lot of that race. And my big thing that lost me about 20 seconds in a couple laps was I went on to the dries too soon, where I thought the track was more dry than it actually was. And I instantly came out the pit lane and I just clipped the wall on the pit lane exit because I just had no grip. I misjudged that terribly. So that was my main problem. And then also mainly I just was my pace wasn't fully there.
Yeah, I
for the rest of the race.
think you did struggle with pace, but I think the main thing was where you would lose a lot is from the spins themselves. Are you running no TC?
Yeah, it's still quite recent.
Yeah, it just does take a while to learn, and for me personally, I have a controller that gives me loads of force feedback, and I think you says you've a wheel that is not direct drive, so you really don't get a lot of feedback to know when you're actually spinning. So it can be difficult to learn whenever you aren't given a lot of feedback from your wheel. But if you could maybe in the settings turn up your force feedback so it could give you a bit more input to know whenever you're losing traction or how you're under braking, etc. It may help.
Yeah, when I look
at racing.
Previous races compared to now, it is a lot better. Slow baby steps.
Mm-hmm. But
yes,
regardless, you still finished. A lot of people who will go unnamed called it a day early in that one, and a lot of league racing is even when stuff goes your way, if you still finish, you get points. And Ledgeman yourself, you do end up getting points and outscoring the people who did not make it to the end, and you may even outscore them in the championship. We'll have to look at the standings after this. But anyway, a great race from everyone here. Neil wins again in the Netherlands as we head to the finale in unspecified location, in unspecified scenario. For the finale of May Mystery Month before we move on to F1 25, which will be out Tuesday week, aka the 27th of May. So the finale for both tiers, F2, will finish on the Saturday, the 24th of May, and the 25th of May will be the finale of May Mystery Month before. The Tuesday on the 27th of May, the F1 25 comes out, along with the full release on the 30th. But anyway, we will find someone to raid on our way out. We have yapped enough in the end of this one, and we will raid Scones, who is doing some GTA, and make sure to give Scones a follow on your way over, and also make sure to give us a follow before you leaving, so that you will not miss the finale of both tiers. But anyway, I've been WHF out. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.